All right, hey everybody, I hope everything's going well. I'm coming up to the launch of my second book for the Arthur Caol Mystery Detective Series. Uh, First off, I'd just like to introduce myself just in case you have no idea who I am. So my name is Daniel Poppie. I am a author from southeastern Wisconsin. I write adventure, fantasy, and now I'm writing some mystery as well. I would say that the majority of my books are adventure books, and then that adventure genre breaks off into other genres such as fantasy and mystery. I actually think we should classify those under adventure. If you want to know any more about me, you can find out more about me at danielpoppie.com. So danielpoppie.com, you can see it up on the screen to see how Poppie is spelled. All right, so first to start off, if you have no idea who I am, or maybe you do know who I am and you just don't know that I write, you don't know what I write, I was just going to explain how I write and how I approach writing, because it'll inform you whether you want to continue watching this short video and whether or not you want to actually check out what I do, because my goal isn't to get everybody to read my work. My goal is to get people who will like it. So that's the goal, and I think that's a pretty good goal. My goal is to entertain people, and my goal really is to bring the reader into a different experience. So I'm trying to transport the reader into a different place. It's kind of like going on a trip. That's kind of how I see it. When you go on a trip, you're put into a different situation, and it's not always fun. It's not always happy. Sometimes it's painful, as books are sometimes painful. Sometimes you go through emotional difficulties when you're reading a book, and sometimes you go through emotional difficulties when you are when you're on a trip as well. And that's kind of how I see it. But I'm really trying to entertain people, and I'm really trying to allow people to disconnect from their daily lives. And I hope that I've done that with my books. You know, I do use things from life sometimes. I use ideas that are floating around in my head. I am informed by real life. I am informed by stuff I read, history, other ideas that come from other authors. But at the same time, I'm not trying to push a person one way or another. I'm trying to present an idea to someone. And I think that's really a good way to look at art. You might actually have a specific idea about something. You might have a specific ideology, but you're not trying to push that ideology on somebody. Rather, you're trying to say, hey, what do you think about this? And that's kind of how I view it. It seems to be the case that a lot of people who work in some form of art think they have to push an ideology. And I'm not just talking about one side or whatever side you're coming from or whatever ideology you're coming from, because there's more than two. I'm actually talking about just people in general. It just seems like they want to force things into art, and instead of saying, hey, this is how I see the world and this is how I experience the world, and is there validity in this, etc. And I think that the experience, whatever that is much better when we're not trying to force someone to think with it, if that makes sense. So I like weird things in books because I think they're fun. I think that they take people out of their world. And I think that for whatever reason, there's a lot of books that are publicized that are, what would you call, they're thrillers, or they're books that could actually happen in real life, if that makes sense. They're kind of like the literary fiction. There's something that, oh, this could actually happen in real life. And for whatever reason, books that are written for adults don't often, you don't see it as much. You do see it to a certain degree. They don't often just take on weird things and have fun with the book, if that makes sense. And I like books that just, the author seems to be having fun. And there are certainly authors that do that. And some of the biggest books are that way, right? Game of Thrones is a fantasy series that is very brutal in some ways, but at the same time, there's weird things in it. There's things that are out of the ordinary that don't fit into our world. So I like it when I see that the author is having fun with the writing, and I try to have fun with my writing, because I think that if I have fun with my writing and I like my writing and I like the story, somebody else is likely to do that as well, and just get out of their lives and take a break, because actually taking a break is important in your life. So this series is the Arthur Caol Detective Series. It's not an official name, but that's what I'm working with right now. There is one book out before this. This is what I was going to grab earlier, but I totally forgot. The book out before this is called A Cure for Death, and it follows Detective Caol, who finds a strange stone that is connected to a death god, or he at least is told it is connected to a death god. This series is This series is dark. It's similar to older Gothic horror. If you want to know what it feels like, think of Dracula, think of Frankenstein. It's not written exactly like those books, but it's trying to get at something that those books were getting at. And there were a lot of books in that time period that addressed this dark feeling. And I think that we've, to a certain degree, lost that. I don't think it's it happens to a certain, everything shows its face, but it's not as mainstream as it used to be, or it doesn't seem to be as much of the common, like the what we view or what we see in common literature right now. So that's what I'm kind of trying to catch. So if that book or this series interests you, I would encourage you to check out that first book. You don't have to read these books in order. If I ever have books that you need to read in order, I'll actually put a note, or I'll say something about it, or it'll be pretty obvious that you need to read them in order. But these books, you don't need to read in order. You should be able to pick up any book. But at the same time, if you do read them in order, I like to make it so that if I'm making a series and I'm making the character progress in that series, that if a person reads it in order, it's going to be more satisfying to read it in that way, in that order, rather than just read it randomly. Because then you can see the character progression. You can see how the characters interact throughout the books. So check that out. Again, it's A Cure for Death. I will put the link in the description, either above or below, depending on what platform you are on. So the title of this book, so I'm doing things differently this time around, because last month I told you what the book is about. This month I'm going to actually tell you what the title is about. And the title is of this book, the title of the second book is The Fugue Estate. And I'll put it up on the screen as well, The Fugue Estate. So if you have any guesses of what this book is about, I would encourage you to comment. I'm not sure if you can guess what the book is about really, really clearly, like you just know what it's about and you know what's going to happen in it. Maybe I'll give you a signed copy for free. I'm not promising anything. Okay, I'm not promising anything. It just depends on the off chance if somebody could read my mind well enough to actually be like, hey, this is what your book is about. I feel like they deserve something, and I'll have to figure that out. If you already read the book, which a few people have, because that's just the nature of things, you can't guess. I'm not going to give you anything. So I have a few questions about this book, and that'll be it. So these questions are it, and then that'll be the end of this video. So how long is the book? This book is actually just about as long as the last book. So the last book was 35,000 words. And again, this is where I really want to grab. All right, so the last book, I actually got the last book. I ran downstairs, so you might see a quick cut. The last book is 35,000 words. And this book, A Fugue for Death, is just under 34,000 or just over 34,000 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's around that amount. So these are about the same exact size. I'm pretty sure they're like 1,000 words difference, and that's 1 to 2 pages. So I'm just going to show you this book. I'm going to show you how big it is. I can't really see it. I'm winded because I ran downstairs to get the book. So it's not a very big book. Man, the color looks a lot different. It's a lot redder than it looks. It's not actually an orange book. It looks like the cover is great. This is really cool. So I didn't make the cover. A friend of mine made the cover. He was a graphics designer. But if you own the book, the cover, I'm actually blocking my mouth. The cover extends to the back, and I thought that was a really cool design, and I'm a big fan of that. So 35,000 words for the second book. I mean 34,000. So it's essentially the same size. It's barely smaller, let's just say that, but it's essentially the same size. The reason why I'm writing short books is because I know a lot of people who just don't have time to read long books. And, this is kind of what I consider an airport book, where you pick it up, you can read it on a plane flight, you can take an afternoon and read the book if you have time, or if you're just a slow reader, because some people are slow readers and they don't want to read something like this. They don't want to read something this big, okay? So that's kind of how I see it. So that's how big the book is. That's kind of the general size. What was my next question? I have a next question right here. What genre is it? So I already mentioned this. I think I already mentioned this. It's mystery, gothic horror. It's a detective novel, detective noir, if you want to think of it like that. It's like that dark feeling. The Maltese Falcon, you have Frankenstein, you have H.P. Lovecraft. I was trying to kind of pull in those ideas where the world is dark and they're trying to discover things. But I also have a lot of other influences. It's hard to describe it. Maybe I'll take some time in one of these other videos this week, one of the other 2 videos, just to describe kind of like my approach to putting a book together. Maybe. We'll see. It might take too long to do that. So how long did it take you to write the first draft of the book? How long did it take you to write the book in general? The first draft of this book took less than a week. I think it took me 4 to 5 days to write the first draft. So it's not a very long book. And I have been doing this a while, and you just get practice doing something, So if you're like, wow, that was really quick. Well, think of the thing that you're best at. And you can probably do that thing a lot quicker than I can. It'd probably take 2 years to do that thing. You could probably take 15 minutes to do that thing. So I've just learned how to do it quickly. I've learned how to put things together. I've been writing for close to 2 decades now, which is kind of crazy. It's weird to think about that. I've been writing for close to 2 decades, and you just learn how to do things, and it's just a matter of doing it again and again and again, where you just get quicker at it. The editing process of this book, it took about a week and a half, I think, from the point I started to write it to the point it was edited. It was a week and a half. And then I would actually say that the book isn't finished until it's actually published. So, I mean, this book took a month to write and publish, right? It took me a month to do it. This book took me 5 years. So it's a lot quicker once you learn how to do something. It's just you can put things together better. And with that smaller book, with A Cure for Death, or with these books, there's less material I'm working with. So with those books, I can write them more quickly because there's not as many moving pieces, right? Where am I? Where can I find the book? You'll be able to find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And don't worry, I will make sure you're able to find it, because why wouldn't I want you to be able to find it? What is your process for writing the book? So this one is really long to explain. And what you should do. So what you should do if you want to know how this works is you should sign up for my newsletter, first of all, danielpoppie.com /newsletter, because then you can keep track of me and then you don't miss this, because I'm going to have announcements coming up to it. You might see it on Facebook, but social media is weird. So you might miss it just because of algorithms and different things like that. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to actually be taking the month of November, which is National Novel Writing Month, and I'm going to be making a short video every single day that talks about what I am doing that day to write a book and then get it published in a month. All right. So that is going to be the best answer to this question. But the question of what is your process for writing a book it's a very complex question, and I'm not sure I can even answer it with a video a day in that month, but I can get closer to answering it if that makes sense to you. All right, so keep your eyes open on social media, on different platforms. If you are on my email list, keep your eyes open for emails coming through. On Friday the 28th, I'll be sending another video out, and I'm going to be telling you what this book is about. And then if somebody happens to guess very closely to what I'm saying, then I'll figure out exactly what's happening with that. Again, you can get my first book, A Cure for Death, on Amazon. I'm going to have it on sale, just a little bit lower than it is now. I'm going to have it on sale during this week and during next week, just in case you weren't able to grab it before. And then if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, and this is actually really important, I just want to stress this. You never know what's going to happen with social media, right? You don't know if a company is going to go under. You don't know if the company is going to suddenly start making strange changes to who they want on their platforms. And that does happen. But if you are interested in making sure you get the information from me, the best way to do that is to sign up for my newsletter, because then I have your information and I can be like, hey, I'm going to send this out when stuff is happening. And really, I do send stuff out when stuff is happening. I don't really send much out other than that. So really, you'll be getting some stuff over the next 5 months now about these books, but I'm not going to be reaching out all the time like some people do. I don't see the point. I do know that people their inbox is like a sacred thing in their email, and they don't want a whole bunch of stuff in their email because I don't want a whole bunch of stuff in their email. So I want to respect that. So don't worry about that if you're thinking that. But if you don't want to miss anything, definitely sign up at danielpoppie.com/newsletter. And again, if you want to grab that book, you'll find that link, and it'll be on sale during this week and next week for the launch. That's just a little promo I'll be running for that. I think I'm forgetting something, but I can't really remember what it is. I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh yeah, here it is. So if you found this interesting, if you like my work, if you read my books, if you like me, if that's a thing, please share this. And if you can share it with somebody who you think would be interested in the book, then I would really appreciate that. That would be something I would definitely appreciate that. So like and share depending on what the platform you're on, because honestly, word of mouth is extremely powerful, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It's something very helpful to me, and I'm going out on my own trying to figure this out and going through the whole publishing process, and I don't have millions of dollars like big publishers do, and that's just a way you can support me. So thank you, everybody, if you watched to the end, and I will see you on, I have to actually look, on Friday the 28th. That's when you should see my next video coming out.